microphone. Stream is now live. Editing? Is everyone okay with live? Yes.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Good evening. Welcome to the first ever Getting to Know You Better. For those of you new to the Seedworks, I don't know if you're new to the Seedworks or not, but welcome.
Are you the only person that came that wasn't already here? Hi, everyone. And Alex.
What's your name?
Jared.
Hi, I'm Molly.
Nice to meet you, Molly.
Nice to meet you too. So we hope you come back. My name's Molly. As most of you know, I work with DPAI as an intern architect, and since I'm just the MC for tonight, I won't reveal too much more about myself other than the fact that this is my first time MCing, which I've just told you, but that was what I wrote down, so I just read it anyway. We are really excited to be starting this series because it's an opportunity for a fun and refreshing insight into our coworkers, our neighbors, and our friends. These are people we spend so much time around every day, yet with whom we often miss out on sharing the deeper interests and experiences that make us who we are. Our stories, our interests, and our quirks are the things that simultaneously set us apart and bring us together, so why not celebrate them? Speaking of celebrating, tonight we have a really amazing lineup of speakers, most of whom are here right now, or most of you are speakers. Chloe St. Pierre Grills, Petra Matar, and Chris Farias, who have all bravely volunteered to share their knowledge, their stories, and their experiences. And it's going to be a fun and eclectic evening, covering topics all the way from drag queens to homesteading to aliens. For those of you who haven't already found the coffee and tea, there's coffee and tea in the kitchen. Help yourselves. The washrooms are at the back corner. They're kind of hidden away. Also, Chloe brought some amazing homemade goodies, so help yourselves. And thank you to Joey for recording this, as always. Thanks a lot. So yeah, our first speaker tonight is Chloe St. Pierre Grills. She is a fellow seed worker, and she's the owner and chief creator of the simplicityprinciple.ca, where she helps small business owners manage their own bookkeeping. She is a bookkeeper who cooks, and she's here tonight to share her insights on homesteading and the city. In the city.
So we're going to get the first slide up, which is just basically the title and the whole thing about homesteading. When you think about it, like it would be homesteading in the city would be me going to find one of those parking lot spots and claiming it as my own and start digging and start planting and start growing my wheat and then start doing something with my wheat and things and going on from there. What I actually meant is more like now it's kind of being looked at as homesteading as people that will do things a lot more locally, more farm grown and more from scratch, basically. And not as much going for the convenience of things, but actually learning to do things from scratch and preserving some of the old ways of taking care of your foods and your home. And so a more modern take on it would be like home economics, right? That's kind of gone to the wayside a little bit. We know nowadays, like even in my field, in the financial world, there's this big thing going on about people not being financially literate and things like that. And you think back, like when you were taught home economics and baking and all those things that went together, that was all part of it. Like you actually learned about budgeting and you learned about how much things cost. And now we're kind of so fast paced, like we kind of set some of those things aside. And a number of years ago, I started looking at how much I was spending on my food. And I've always been a foodie, so I love cooking and love doing things. But I had a big corporate career and I was running around and bought convenience. And when I ended up at home and starting my own business, I started having to save those pennies. and starting to be more mindful of where I was spending. And actually, so I went through that little kick of the couponing and the watching for flyers and realized like how ridiculous the price would change and move. And the regular price of cheese now is $8 because that brick every other week is going to go on sale for $5. By the way, now that it's $5 more often, they actually reduce the size of it. So when you go shopping for things like that, look at the size of what you're buying because now it's 400 grams. It used to be 500 grams. So I started looking at all those things. And then a year ago, I started looking at more of what I was buying, what I was actually eating, and starting to reconsider that I was starting to get to that age where lifestyle diseases were going to start being the first thing the doctor refers to every time I have an ache. So I started looking at how my food intake was impacting that and all the crap that was in the food. Watched a bunch of TED Talks on Netflix and scared the hell out of myself on quite a few things. And so I decided and made a pact with, I have an amazing husband who goes with my crazy ideas. And I said, okay, I want us to not buy anymore. Whenever we run out, like I want us to make everything from scratch. And he said, well, we're not throwing everything out. I said, no, I'll give you that one. We want to do better, but let's do one thing at a time. So as we ran out of something out of the cupboards, I started replacing it with making it myself. And quite honestly, like some of the things I thought were going to be so hard were not that hard. Other things were a little bit crazy. Like pasta has been a very interesting adventure. Do you want to switch to the next slide? So I went on and started making everything from scratch, one thing at a time. My own bread, my own yogurt, my own everything. And people around me were like, you know, okay, you keep going, Chloe. They're enjoying the food, but a lot of people were telling me, oh, well, I don't have time for that. And I'm thinking, well, I kind of keep busy. I'm not just sitting at home. I'm raising a child. I've got a business. I've got things. I'm finding the time. And so we kind of switched the conversation to the fact that it was a choice. I choose to spend my extra time doing this for myself, for my family. And that might not be your priority. But everybody enjoys the results of my work. And at the end of the day, once you learn to do a lot of those things and you pick up the tricks, it's not that hard. Like for tonight, I brought you a little sample of some things I made today. I made some fresh mozzarella. It takes an hour to make. And the byproduct is then whatever whey is in there, I crank it up and result is ricotta. And then the bread, if you have a good machine like I do, you don't even need. You just let the machine do its thing. You just have to stand there for maybe 10 minutes of doing mixing and things like that. Then you let it rest. You let it rise. So people think like it takes forever to do things. It doesn't take that long. But you have to think about it and you have to make it. Like that bread, I had family visiting last week and I made it. The only problem is too darn good. By the next morning, I was out of bread again, so I had nothing to feed my parents for breakfast. So it can get a little bit adventurous when you don't have the knee-jerk reaction of going to the store and buying things. And I also brought you some other discoveries. Whenever there's something I know I'm not ready to get into making, I try and at least source it to something more local. So that's how I came across Venetian meats and salami and found out I could go there myself. Because Fridays at my house, it's pizza night. And I make my own sauce, I make my own dough, I make my own mozzarella. So my only one problem was my cold cuts my meats for the toppings. So I finally found a local place. I had to spend the time, I had to be mindful about it and research it, but now I know. And it's very easy and very accessible to me now. So that is, the next slide will give you a little bit of an idea of all of the stuff that I've been learning to do and trying to do. Pita bread is hilarious. I thought it was a very complicated process. It's basically your bread dough. You just flatten it out and slap it on a baking sheet, and 3 minutes later you've got pita bread. And so that's a little bit of the pictures of everything. Mary's crackers. Nailed it. Darn proud of it. I started... That's the thing. They're super expensive. And they're so good. But, I mean, it's just grains. It's just a handful of grains. And I started into the world of fermentation with kombucha. And it's a nice, easy start to try and learn a little bit about that world. I make amazing Chinese food. Velveeta. I make it. I make it just because with my family, it's not just, they don't, cheddar sometimes is like with my little daughter, like grilled cheese or hamburgers and things like that. They like that kind of cheese, so I made it. And the thing is, here's the thing, is it's Google. It's homemade blank. Whenever I run out of something, it's homemade blank. Homemade mustard takes 10 minutes to make. It's faster than me trying to run to the store to buy it. So there's all these things that are so easy to do, and that's just cheddar and gelatin and a little bit of milk. That's all it is. So figuring out all these things has been like, it's a passion. You have to want to do it. The second from the bottom, the pasta? In the bowl? Oh, that was a wonton soup. Wontons are super. The homemade broth for wonton is so much better. So much better. And yeah, and like the wontons are a lot of fun to make. And like, it doesn't matter if you don't speak Chinese. You just have to watch them do the video. Like, and you get, and then you pick it up. Like, you just watch what they do. And very often.
Netflix at the same time. I watch how-to videos on with no sound on.
Yeah.
And Netflix, so that I can learn something while I'm.
Yeah. But all the Asian recipes, I've just watched like the originals. Everybody has a mom that they put on video. They put, here's my mom's best recipe, and it's amazing everything you can learn to do. Now, moving forward, and if you want to put on the next slide, I don't know if you had any questions about anything else. Yeah. Homemade spring rolls or something else. This is a little blurb that I put out there when I had people kind of questioning what I was doing and kind of saying, you know, it was a little bit pointless and fruitless and good for you to entertain yourself, but what's the point of it? And basically, I used the example of a homemade, those breakfast sandwiches. Yeah, Egg McMuffin. Well, I make my own English muffins. And I make everything else. So I didn't lay the egg. But everything else I took care of. And my cost was 76 cents instead of at least $2.99 for it. So I did my little bookkeeper thing, and I did a little bit of math. And basically, I'm adding $400 per month to my income stream for only 2 hours a week of work.
The other day I made burgers for the first time, and for the price of one burger, I made 5 at home.
Yeah.
I did not know.
Guys, for the discussion, can you pass the microphone? Because I think this will be a really good podcast.
Oh,
on Seedworks.
okay.
So when you have discussion.
Yes, please.
The other day I made Yeah. Yeah, for the price of one burger, I made 5, and it was awesome. I did not know because I eat at least one burger a week, and at least $10 per burger. If you go to Jack and Lois, if you want to have something fancier with like all extra toppings, and I always order an egg on my burger, which is $2 when you order it out, but
In an hour and a half, I can give you the recipe to make your own hamburger buns. And the cost is going to go down like you won't believe, right? And it's fresh and it's amazing. And you can't beat it. Like for what? A couple of cups of flour? And so I did my little math. Of course, I'm not going to open a drive-through window at my house, so it's not really going to become my full-time income. But I can save a lot of money. And now for the other side of it, which is for my family and my quality of life, is mine was way bigger. I added extra stuff. It was with real cheddar. I added baby spinach, which is when you go to any of those fast food places, it's a premium item, right? And I get to stay at home on Sunday morning instead of going to sit in one of those plastic chairs. Like, how can you not enjoy that? Well, one of the things, though, is that that's me, and that's me doing it. There's other people that would love to enjoy it, but their life choices and lifestyles don't allow them that. And they have no interest in picking that up. So those people are the people that buy like the multi-million-dollar convenience, right? The big stores. And even in some of the more small local stores, you will buy more locally made. It's still traveled a fair bit to get to that store. And what I want us to have is, I don't know how much time we've got left, but a little bit of a discussion, like people's ideas on how would you see that, like, how can we make that what I do happen? Like, but like, what if I did it for 20 people in my neighborhood? And I made everything from scratch, and I did the preserves, and I did everything. And I was their home economics, and that was my trade, and that would be my trade, right? Or things like that. Like, how do you see that? I know there's community kitchens and people getting together sometimes. How feasible is that for everyone? Like, how do we get rid of those big stores, big convenience packaging, and bring it down to local, fresh, less preservatives? Because it's like, what, a 10-minute walk to get to your convenience access to food? Yes, sir.
I think it's a really great question. I think it's really hard, especially for people, and I know you're saying that it costs you less money to do it, but I think it's changing mentality. I was in the States over Christmas, and I went to McDonald's, and I got 25 chicken McNuggets for $5. So it was like I think that was 25 cents a chicken McNugget, and I ate all of them. and then I drank, and then they were gone. It was a good time. But like, it's got to be really hard, and I don't know because I don't have a family with kids and stuff and feeding them. But like, well, we don't have children. We're never having children. That's a different talk, but I think it's got to be really hard for parents who don't have time. They're working 2 jobs to make it, and then go, okay, I can either make healthy, or I can go and get 25-cent chicken McNuggets, and my kids are really happy about it. But then that just carries on to the next generation because, especially McDonald's and those types of foods, what they put in them, you start to develop almost a fondness, a childhood, like no one, like the bright colors and the playroom and all that stuff. When I drive by McDonald's, it's just like, oh yeah, remember when I was a kid and, I got an A on my report card and we went there and we, like, that just, I don't know if it's possible.
Don't you feel, every time you eat at McDonald's, don't you feel unsatisfied like 20 minutes later? I notice that. I'll go to McDonald's. It'll taste good because it has a lot of MSG or whatever flavor enhancer in it. It tastes good. And then 20 minutes later, I feel like, I feel disgusting. Yeah, like did I really eat?
I'm like full, but I'm just like, oh my God, I'm so gross.
Yeah, like you can feel this visceral feeling that you haven't done yourself any good.
You put that Egg Honestly, it's chemical reaction.
Oh, yeah.
But I have a question though. 2 hours a week. I have two questions.
Yeah.
2 hours a week of work, is that in addition to whether, like, that's all you spend in a week?
No, like in addition to what I would normally do, right?
In addition, right. And the other
spend
question,
a lot of time in grocery stores anymore.
no, I bet you don't. But I have another question. Does this change your relationship with food? Like when you're eating, it must be a different experience for you
My
now
husband,
than,
without meaning to, actually lost 20 pounds. And I mean, I'm making good food. He's eating really well. But yeah, it does change. Like your portions change. You can control what goes in it more. So a heck of a lot less sugar. When you make your own ketchup, it's still a lot of sugar, by the way, if you want it to taste like ketchup. But you can still control that stuff. And yeah, it makes, because like even now what we're starting to do is, because it's always been also our mentality was meat, side, veggie. So we don't do that anymore. And so we're starting to stretch that meat a little bit, add more veggies in our recipes, and just less meat in what we do. And yeah.
You're talking about, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but the relationship with food is in because you've made it, because you know where everything comes from, because you took the time, you appreciate it more. You know, when you go to eat, I don't usually taste everything.
I sometimes eat and
I go,
then I
"What did I just
realize
eat?"
what I did not even experience
Yeah.
that, right? And sometimes when I'm cooking at home with my daughter, we'll make like homemade wontons, or we'll do something adventurous.
Yeah.
And we'll really get into it, and we'll put all the spices in. And when you sit down and eat it, you really pay attention to it,
Yeah.
and you taste every bite,
Huge.
and you have this totally different relationship
Yeah.
with what you're eating, right?
Oh, you do.
So I wonder if that that must be a
Yeah.
big change in your life.
Plus also, we're not running from work to the grocery store to get something to throw from a freezer
Right.
into our oven and then just sitting down to wolf it.
Right.
Because we don't have very high expectations of what it's going to be, right? But yeah, I'd love for us to see, like, is there a model where we could eat more locally made, like, kitchens, but not restaurants. Like, I would love restaurants to not be convenience places, but to be places where you go for food experiences, right? But your convenience food to be local somehow. I don't know how, but to make your convenience purchases local.
We need to start eating like a community though.
Well, yeah, some of it would fall under that. Yeah.
I have just like a practical question for you. I'm curious where you buy your food. Like, where do you buy your ingredients? And you must buy them. Do you buy like in bulk? Do you buy from a lot of different places? Yeah.
I do buy from, right now, it's pretty much, it's quite a bit all over. I do have a farm share in the summer. And I'll buy the extra pickles. And my daughter tried to get me to grow shrimp this summer. It didn't happen. But I started a garden. I don't know where she got that idea that I could plant a seed and she'd get some shrimp. But I started my own garden as well. My meat I mostly get from VG Meats. So I'll buy one of their packages. And then I'll just do whatever. But I'm also using less of it. So I'm getting a good price. I'm paying more than I ever paid because I used to buy the cheap, on sale meat. But by stretching it and by actually making it like into a really good recipe, it's actually costing me less, but I'm buying more expensive meats and cuts of meats. I found a Fisher place in Burlington that he brings in more local because I stopped buying my shrimp from China and Indonesia. But it's hard to get them, but you can get them from the States. And just Bulk Barn and a few of those places like that, it's still finding some things now. Yep. Yeah.
you know, when you're describing like this food experience that you want people to have, like the first thing that comes to my mind is actually like the only place I've really truly had that is when it's a learning experience for me. When I walk into someone's house and I'm not just eating the food, I actually come away knowing actually how to make that food from now on. So like, you know, and that's sort of what I like to have happen. And of course, like, you know, typically when I think of that, I think of my grandmother's place. And I had told her, you know, really proudly once that, hey, I had made this amazing eggplant dish, and like she'd be super proud of me. And she goes, did you sweat the eggplant? I sweat the eggplant, like what, like take it for like a run around the block before I cooked it, or like what are we talking about here? And just like there's certain things that just become lost when, you know, you don't treat everything you encounter as a learning experience. Like, you know, you should be walking away having, you know, learned how to make that dish now and do it to the best of your ability, sort of a thing. So, you know, I know for me, like, you know, going over to my grandmother's house and having like a nice Ukrainian dish that I had never even heard of before, and you know, that's the memorable food moments I have.
Yeah.
So
And we're losing
yeah,
a
for sure.
lot of those, like because of convenience and because we're busy and because we all have that, and like we're now saying, oh, we're going to buy local, and it's a big fad now. We're reinventing the wheel. It's been done before, but when it was done way back then, the workload was not quite the same in families, right? So now we don't have to reinvent it. It's there. It's there. Those skills are there. We can do it. It's just we have to find a new way to do it, because a lot of the wives, which were the ones who mostly did those, the wives or the farmers that mostly did all that for us, they're kind of falling to the wayside, and we've got to bring them back. But some of them, we don't want that to change. I want to be able to go off to work. I don't want that to change, but there's got to be a way for us to bring that back, but in a format that would allow us to just enjoy it more. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Chloe. I just wanted to comment, what you're speaking of sounds an awful lot like resilience and the transition town model. If you're familiar with that, it's the idea of creating community resilience, and many of the ideas they talk about are reskilling, reskilling from older activities of freezing and canning, bread making, sort of more fundamental approaches like that, and also of community resilience is based on something similar to what you're speaking of, where perhaps one family would be raising chickens, one family would be making wine, one family makes bread, everybody sort of changes, and so somebody makes 20 loaves of bread, somebody makes a case of wine, somebody raises chickens, that kind of thing. And well, exactly. I mean, Dundas is, in fact, is a transition town, and I've been talking about with some neighbors about raising chickens and eggs, and yeah, it's excellent. Thank you, Chloe, for bringing that up.
Thank you. No, I hadn't looked. That's why I want to have a talk, because for me, it's just me going off and doing my crazy thing. And I want to know, like, there's got to be, because we hear about community kitchens and people growing and sharing together, but I'd love to find a better model for those convenience foods for all of us to be able to enjoy. And just pass it around. What are you going to make?
I can probably, what was it? What were those?
Cheese?
I can do
Wine?
chicken. That's a lot.
Chickens?
Maybe eggs. I will have a
It
hen.
comes with the chicken.
Yeah, but I don't want to kill the chicken. I just want I'll give you the eggs.
Okay.
I think that's one of the big things for me too, is that you have, when you think about eating more local or eating even healthier,
Yeah.
for someone who's busy, it's like there's too many parts of it. Because I kind of liked your idea of like just replacing even certain things, right? And by homemaking certain things.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that a lot of us would have time to learn how to do all of the things. But if we each got specialized in certain things and had other friends who were good at some of the things we didn't have time to learn, then that would be more realistic for someone like me anyway.
Or for someone to have it as a trade. Like for me, there's things that I'm still researching. I actually need to go get a pH kit because I'm having a hard time getting a brine to make more cheese and to be able to keep it. But like, it's a lot of things to learn. But if there was a way to share that knowledge, that would be great. If there was a way for everybody to take one on, that would be great as well. Or for having somebody that has it as a trade, but that's not going to go off working to a restaurant, but would have their own community kitchen where they would do it for other people, maybe? I don't know. Anyway.
I wonder if, do you know Susan Austin?
Yeah, I know Sue.
Yeah, I wonder, I mean, she has a big kitchen set up down there.
Kitchen that's opening, that just opened. Yeah.
What's that one?
Kitchen Collective.
Kitchen Collective.
Yeah.
And is that,
It's a co-op, I think.
oh, and is this sort of what you're
Same.
talking about, where people
I
can?
don't know if it would be, because
Oh.
then they're in very far away spots, like it's still not in your neighborhood, because it's just like mustard seed. They have amazing things. A lot of their stuff, regardless, has to be trucked in. A lot of their prepared things are.
They have a limit of how far it comes, don't they?
I don't know for that, for which products, and maybe, yeah, maybe they do that. Yeah. No? Okay. And that's not butter, that's homemade margarine. Basically, it's just to make it spreadable, you just mix olive oil and butter.
It's butter?
It's butter and olive oil.
And you call that margarine? That's butter?
No, it is. No, it's spreadable. You won't believe it's not butter because it is.
Because it is.
Oh my God. And this is all on a podcast. Thank you. There you go.
Thank you so much, Chloe. That was okay. Coffee break. Okay. All right, coffee break. Yes, we're recording.
Okay.
Hi, Martin.
Is this doing anything other than recording? Am I supposed to hear you? I don't know, over the entire building?
I guess that's from back. Joey's live webcasting, and we're recording it.
Great idea.
YouTube, Netflix, and crochet all at the same time. ADD is the awesomest. Awesomest.
Okay. Well, thanks for that, Chloe. That was amazing. And we will continue to enjoy your delicious bread. So our next speaker is Petra Matar. Most of you know Petra. She works as an intern architect at DPAI. She's a practicing artist and a member of Haven, a collective based in downtown Hamilton. She is a highly curious, highly passionate individual and an unabashed cat lover. Cat. Yeah. If you've ever met Petra, you've probably heard her talk about her cats, maybe. And her topic this evening is, or at least the last title she gave me was The Wonder in Uncertainty, A World Beyond Belief. Petra, take it away.
Thanks. Okay, so I'm going to talk about my beliefs throughout my life and where I am at now. And mainly it went from certainty to complete uncertainty, and I think uncertainty is way more fun. So just like most kids, I was very curious, had a lot of questions. And the big one was, where did we come from? And the next slide was, that's it. This was everything. This is God. My religion was what everything, all my knowledge was filtered through. In 4th grade, I took Islamic studies because my family is Muslim, and all of my information came from the Quran. That's the next slide. That was how I understood the universe. And my favorite part of this book was the scientific bits about the creation of the universe. If you go to the next slide. It talks about things that are similar to the Big Bang Theory. So to me, for the longest time, up to like age 18, it was a pretty good book. Something about the universe expanding was there, the fact that we came from water. So it was satisfying for a while, until I went into university and I realized critical thinking is a thing. And I started practicing it. And I came across a book. Well, this does not fit. We do not fit into the way that God created the universe, right? We are separate from it. So that was something I started having trouble with. And the book that I read that sort of brought everything to my mind was Flatland. And Flatland is a story about a two-dimensional universe. Everyone in this universe is a shape. And they have different social statuses. So and that depends on their angle. So squares are the middle class, the lower class are triangles, the higher, and the wise men were the circles, and the women were lines. So yeah, and the story of this, so the entire story was a square, and the square was in his living room, and one day he was visited by a sphere, and the way the sphere made himself manifest was a circle that changed its diameter. And he was very shocked at that. And eventually the sphere was trying to explain to him what he was, but the square does not understand the third dimension. And he kept on telling him upward, not northward, not upward, upward, not northward. And the square just did not understand, and the sphere finally lifted him up. And that was my first introduction into dimensions beyond the third dimension. And I started getting into quantum theory. And yeah, this quote basically describes my journey since then of trying to find the answer, but knowing fully that there is no answer, but just the joy of seeing what answers are out there. And that's basically what this talk is going to be about. So perception and reality was what the square and the sphere were telling me, is that our perception is only a small fragment of our reality, and that was proven scientifically via quantum theory, where an electron will only take a path if you observe it. Otherwise, it takes all possible paths. And so since science started kind of confirming those theories, and those will come up as I speak, it became something that's viable for me. I became more and more uncertain, which, and my religion originally is a thing that Satan will make you do. And yeah, I guess. This man was the soundtrack of my dorm room, Carl Sagan. And Cosmos was mind-blowing. I mean, there's so many things about it that were mind-expanding. The fact that I did not know how big or small the universe was until I started listening to this man. He talked about time travel and how it's scientifically possible. The speed of light was mind-blowing, black holes and all of that. And yeah, the theory of relativity as well. That was also mind-blowing. So I started reading quantum physics, and I know those are not the most exciting books, but it was fun. And looking at these things where that's us, and then when we are compared to Jupiter, we're pretty tiny, and then Jupiter is almost the sun, and that was awesome, and that's our sun, and our sun is actually pretty tiny in comparison to other stars. And yeah, that too was mind-expanding. So I'm going to talk about my 3 favorite theories, and one of them is philosophical, which is the simulation hypothesis. The next one is scientific, which is about its panspermia, and the third one I'm going to leave as a surprise, I guess. So the simulation hypothesis is that we are a computer. We've all seen the Matrix, and that's basically it. And I can try to explain it, but the next video, a 3-minute video, can explain it better than me.
You find computer code writ in the fabric of the cosmos.
Into the equations that we want to use to describe the cosmos, yes.
The argument is called the simulation argument, and he argues that we are all very likely not living in a real universe, but living in a simulated universe. And we are being simulated on the hard drives of computers of the future.
An advanced civilization would have enough computing power that even if it devoted only a tiny fraction of 1% of that computing power for just 1 second in the course of its maybe 1,000 years long existence, that would be enough to create billions and billions of ancestor simulations.
In the last 5 or so years, I've been able to show that hidden inside of these equations, there are computer codes. They're the kind of computer codes that make browsers work. And so if the equations that describe our reality have computer codes hidden in them, that's just kind of weird.
They'll run simulations of the past in the way that we run simulations, Sims games, and then there's just one short move that simulated universes, almost by definition, will outnumber real universes. And therefore, we are a lot more likely to be among the simulated ancestors than the real ancestors.
In the distant future, simulating physical systems with very high accuracy so that they look perfectly real to the user of the virtual reality will become commonplace and trivial.
If you could see the body as it really is, you'd see that 99.9999% of it is mostly empty space. And the 0.00001% of it, which you see as matter, is also empty space. And matter is just an illusion, an artifact of our perceptual experiences.
It's as if reality is so connected that when you look at one small part, you can see things about other parts. That the entire whole is contained in the part. And in a sense, you can't divide reality up because we're cutting off a hologram. We can't find where one particle is because it's always a reflection of all particles.
The concept of a virtual reality, our reality is being a virtual, informational, digital reality, that's better science, it's better physics, answers more of the questions. So it's working. In other words, people are seeing that it's a better physics, that it does explain more of reality.
Inside the simulation, you can't tell any difference between the simulated environment, the virtual reality, and the real environment. In fact, this environment we now find ourselves in could be just a simulation.
So, yeah, that's one theory, and that's more philosophy. Not sure how scientific that is. I mean, they have equations, but I don't know how we can prove it. The next theory is panspermia, and that's pretty scientific. And it came about by this guy, Crick, who imagined the DNA structure before he ever saw it underneath a microscope. And I'm told that he took a lot of LSD. So, yeah, he was right about one thing, and the other thing about panspermia is basically we came from outer space on meteors, so life originated from outer space in turn like microbes. And the next slide. So basically that life exists throughout the universe. Why would it not? And it's basically always going from one planet to another via meteors, asteroids, comets, planetoids, and my favorite one, spacecraft, in the form of unintended contamination by microorganisms. And there's three kinds. Radiopanspermia is that these organic materials are traveling through electromagnetic waves, and that's just like light or radiation from the stars. The more likely one is lithopanspermia, and that's via comets and meteors. And basically the theory was that that's how we came onto Earth, and that the fact that Earth is actually seeding other planets, and that's pretty cool. That enough comets landed on the early planets, and basically there was this big soup that we all know about, and we became plants and fish, and evolution happened. And with that, there's basically one thing that proves that living things, that organic matter can actually survive radiation, can actually survive impact and interplanetary travel is this guy, the water bear, who can survive in radiation, in acidic environments, boiling water, can go without eating for decades, apparently. Basically, this thing is invincible. It can go to Mars and it'll be fine. And the third one is that we were seeded by extraterrestrial beings. And this brings me to the ancient astronaut, ancient alien theory, that we are just engineered beings by extraterrestrials. So that's pretty out there, and that I'm venturing into the paranormal, but that's my favorite one. And the reason I think this is viable, well, a lot of people think this is viable. So there's two kinds. It's either that aliens kind of screwed up, and just like we put satellites out there, that some of them did that, and we sort of happened by a bunch of alien garbage falling onto the planet. The more interesting one is that we were directly genetically engineered by those, and that there's a deliberate transport of those microorganisms in space, and basically maybe at some point they decided to come in, play with the genes of a bunch of apes, and this is why we are sort of different than everyone else. So I'm bringing back Adam and Eve. We are slightly different than nature. A really cool manifestation of that is that a lot of cultures and ancient scripts, some people believe could have been inspired by extraterrestrials, and the way ancient beings understood them could not be explained that way. And we got religions, is basically the theory. And I'll show you a bunch of pictures. So this is from Mesopotamia, and it's a cylindrical seal of, this is basically beings that are on a hovercraft of some sort. There's the Egyptians, who I don't know if you've seen this hieroglyph, but I mean, some things look like helicopters and spacecrafts, and these are real things. And there's the Anunnaki, which is a really cool story. Their god is on a different planet called Nibu, and it's beyond Pluto. And this is an ancient Sumerian text. So this is these are in the old world, so which we got a lot of our religions from these days. This was in Japan, kind of looks like an alien, and it's a figurine, it's a god. And a lot of cultures modify their skulls, or show or represent their deities as having elongated skulls. So this is in South America, and the next one is in Egypt. And this was the Amarna period, and it was the only period that was slightly different than all of the ancient Egyptians. And to piss an Egyptian off, the best way to say it is that aliens put their pyramids on Earth, but the pyramids show up everywhere. And they could be ancient spacecrafts, they could be landing pods, who knows. This one is in Iran, there's one in Greece, and there's many, many others. My favorite video, though, if you click on that link, is a Canadian guy talking about it. And he's not, if you just click on the question mark.
Let's go to our esteemed Honorable Paul Hellyer of Canada. We would give you 20 minutes, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak. And thank you, Steve, for the invitation. My name, as I said, was Paul Hellyer. I'm a former Minister of National Defence for Canada. I served in 3 governments during a total of 23 and a half years as a Member of Parliament. Although as Minister of National Defence, I had sighting reports of UFOs. I was too busy to be concerned about them at the time because I was trying to unify the Army, Navy, and Air Force into a single Canadian Defence Force. And that itself was a kind of battle to the finish. So this was not high on my agenda. But about 10 years ago, I started getting interested due to a young man from Ottawa sending me material on the subject. I told him I was too busy to read it, but he had confidence that someday I would. He sent me a copy of Colonel Corso's book, The Day After Roswell. It took me a while to get around to reading it, but I took it for my summer reading in 2005 and was really impressed with what was contained in it. And what I thought to myself is there are huge issues here, huge issues. And the American people and the people of the world have a right to know what's going on because they're part of it. It's not just an isolated thing. And so after confirming the contents of the book with a retired United States Air Force general, I accept the invitation of Victor Vigiani, who's over here somewhere, and his cohort, Mike Bird, to speak to a symposium at the University of Toronto. And I said, UFOs are as real as the airplanes flying overhead.
And you can keep on watching this if you want when you go home. But this guy is pretty credible, and there's a lot of credible people out there who are starting to discuss this. So, yeah, this is where I'm at right now. We could be aliens. But we could be from meteors, or we could be from Adam and Eve. It's all right now equally probable to me. And I just find it fun. I find the fact that we don't know fun, and the freedom of not being told that Satan is making me do this, the freedom to actually seek this knowledge. Yeah, I don't know what you guys think. You can't ask me any questions because I don't know anything, but you could. You could.
Are you still learning? Are you still looking?
Oh yeah. There's this awesome talk radio called AM 640, and it's on AM. It's on good nights it's aliens, on bad nights it's psychics, you know. And yeah, there's so much out there, so much unknown knowledge.
So you're still looking into that theory?
Looking to all of them, whatever, like just whatever comes my way. I know, like, I'm interested in these main 3, but if something comes across, I only learned about the simulation theory like last year, and that was fun. That was really, really fun. Ties into quantum physics, which is cool. I don't know if have you guys ever heard of any of these theories?
No.
Simulation theory.
Well, that's
Yeah.
Chariots of the Gods was sort of a precursor, sort of an earlier version of what you're talking about, years ago, Richard.
That's right.
So and so.
Dawkins?
No, it wasn't Dawkins. Yes, the Chariots of the Gods was an earlier version of this that called it the hieroglyphics and pointed out some similarities across the Nazca lines and what was going on with the Sumerians and so forth.
It was a very popular movie, too.
Very popular, yeah. And quantum physics calls up a lot of these ideas. There's some ideas of that consciousness is sort of the fundamental element, that we can't, there isn't, we've tried to approach the universe as sort of divisible. So we keep trying to sort of look at it in smaller and smaller quantities until we can find the smallest unit that is not divisible, and they've never found anything. They just keep dividing. And then there's some thought from, say, what the bleep do we know that brought up a lot of issues. There was Stuart Hameroff, who was a anesthesiologist from the States, and Sir Roger Penrose, who've searched for trying to find the physical locality of consciousness in the body, and they've sort of proposed a mechanism for consciousness, and they've also proposed that consciousness is the actual fundamental building block of the universe. It sort of forms the fabric of the universe. So I don't know. I find all this stuff hugely fascinating, actually, Petra. Thank you for bringing it up.
The video that you showed me about the physicists proving God's existence.
Yeah, that is the simulation theory.
That is simulation.
Yeah. That basically, reality is very similar to a computer code.
That's interesting what you say about, I've never heard that theory about consciousness being a fundamental building block. But it's really interesting to me because at one point in my life I was very interested in different religions, and I read books on the various world religions, and I actually went to a Taoist temple for a while, and I went to a Buddhist temple and meditated, and this consciousness, that's what the Buddhists are pursuing. They're chasing consciousness, right? They're trying to get to a state where they're fully conscious. And to them, that's like knowing God, right? So the fact that there's a scientific theory, I'm presuming this is scientific?
Yes. Yeah, it was published about fairly recently, 2 or 3 years ago, but Hameroff was featured in What the Bleep Do We Know. He's one of the physicists interviewed. Penrose is a British quantum physicist, Nobel Prize-winning physicist.
Yes.
And they've come out with this, the sort of localization of consciousness in the body. They have a mechanism they propose for it. So they've been at it for years and years. Yeah.
Do they talk about consciousness as being God or as being something sacred, or is it?
I don't recall that. I read like an extract, a summary of it, of the paper. I think a lot of physicists and scientists seem to find God in the universe.
Right. Yeah.
But Buddhism and Hinduism are actually really, really cool religions, and in that sense is they're very much about the consciousness and I mean science. They always tell you there's a difference between the brain and the mind. The mind is not an organ. The mind is not a physical entity, and really this is where. And Abrahamic religions have the soul, which is also not a physical entity. So these things keep on making themselves manifest. So this knowledge is ancient. It's the interpretation of the knowledge that sometimes, to me at least, was lost.
But it's also scary, right? I think.
Oh yeah.
Knowing this stuff is frightening to a lot of people.
Not knowing is frightening to a lot of people. Yeah. And this is why I can't be an atheist at the end of the day. I cannot call myself an atheist because I do not know. An atheist is a religion to me. You say no, that's it, and that's a very concrete belief. Whereas like,
they believe there is no God.
Yes. So that was it.
Okay. Thanks, Petra. Petra, I think I just realized the reason why I love you so much is that you are like Mulder and Scully combined. So thank you. Okay, so our last speaker for the evening is Chris Frias. Chris is vice... Oh, you're not... Well, you can set up while I introduce you. Or bathroom break.
Just changing back there.
Oh.
All right. Well, Chris is going to be on a lapel microphone, so we have to turn off this microphone so that it doesn't interfere.
adorable. Adorable. Yeah, we knew each other way back then. So I'm going to kind of walk you through the history, the mystery, and the fishery. You might not know what that is, but we'll get to that. Of drag queens. And one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this, not only am I really interested in drag queens, I'm not a drag queen. I wish I had time to do drag. I don't. I really love watching drag queens. I love going to drag shows. I'm going to Toronto with all of like the RuPaul stars. I'm really excited about. But one of the reasons I really want to talk about this was to clarify what a drag queen was, because there's a lot of confusion, and you could unintentionally offend somebody by calling them a drag queen or calling them something else. So I wanted to kind of clarify that. But first we're going to play a little game called Woman or Drag Queen.
Drag.
Drag queen.
Drag.
Drag queen. Drag queen.
Oh.
Really? Drag.
That was so fast.
Beautiful drag.
Oh, yeah. Drag.
Woman.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man. The drag queen looked better. Yeah, drag queen would have way better makeup. Drag. Oh,
I've stopped guessing.
David, you're afraid to
I
get it
got
wrong.
Oh, that's drag queen. If they look really put together, yeah, I'm going to say woman,
that better
but
be a woman.
apparently we can't do it.
Oh!
Yeah, we can't put
Confusing
ourselves
me,
together.
Chris.
We cannot put ourselves together as a drag queen. That's the bad.
What do you think?
Women!
Drag queen.
I'm going to say drag queen.
You're right. So, the mystery of drag queen. So, who is a drag queen? I originally had one as a drag queen, and I thought that was really actually kind of offensive. So I was like, who's a drag queen? First of all, drag queen is not a woman. A woman who does drag would be called a drag king, but we're not talking about drag kings today. We're talking about drag queens. A drag queen is not a lesbian. I've actually heard people, they've asked me that, and they're not. And if a lesbian heard you call her that, I'm sure she might kick your ass. They're not androgynous, and we all kind of know what androgyny is. It's David Bowie. It's that mix between male and female, and it's more of it is a gender identity, but it's also a fashion, a way to kind of define your personality. Transgender, this is really important. Transgender, a lot of people are confused about transgender. So the state of one's gender identity or gender expression not matching one's assigned sex. So basically, you're born a man, but you are a woman inside and you feel like a woman, or vice versa. So that's what transgender is. And this is Laverne Cox, who's actually a big star on Orange is the New Black, and she's coming to Mohawk College, I believe, in March. And she was on the cover of Time this year. She's absolutely fantastic. But just so you know, a drag queen is not transgendered. And if you said that to a transgender person, that they're a drag queen, they would be very offended by that. Transvestite. Transvestites and crossdressers are typically heterosexual males who wear traditionally feminine clothing. Transvestite has been labeled in the past to associate cross-dressing with sexual arousal, but that term has changed to transvestic fetishism. So, this word has kind of evolved over time. It used to be that you could call someone who dressed as a woman, no matter what, if it was a drag queen, or someone who was transgender as transvestite. But that's kind of evolved into a man wearing women's clothes, but it's usually a straight man, and it's they feel more comfortable wearing female clothes. So what is a drag queen? A drag queen is a man, usually gay, impersonating a woman or several women for the purpose of entertainment or for performance. They can range from those who do it as a job to those who do it as a form of artistic expression. It is basically an art. It's an art form. You're going on stage, you're performing as a woman. And there's different kinds of drag queens. So RuPaul up in the corner, who's my all-time favorite drag queen, she says, I do not impersonate females. RuPaul is So a drag queen, this type of a drag queen, and we can see this is Jujubee. I'm just going to I'm name dropping drag queens. Jujubee and I forget what her name is. She's amazing. But basically, they're dressed as women. They have a female personality that they portray. RuPaul is RuPaul. RuPaul's never not RuPaul. When he's out of drag, he's still RuPaul. But they're portraying women. And then drag queen in character. So this is Dame Edna. I don't know if you guys know Dame Edna. She's a big celebrity in England. And also Divine, which we'll talk about a little later, but it's a drag queen as a character. So Dame Edna is always playing Dame Edna, this character. And then impersonator. So this is a Cher impersonator. So there are drag queens who specifically impersonate mostly gay icons like Cher, Madonna, Reba McEntire. Yeah, I think she is a gay icon. The history of drag queens. So where did it originate? Where did it all start? In Shakespearean and classical Chinese theater, men would play the parts of women, as women would not be permitted to appear on stage. So Shakespeare's plays, basically everybody on stage was a man. There was no women. Women weren't allowed. And in the notes, you would see dress resembling a girl, and that's where drag comes from. D-R-A-G. Where did the queen come from? The queen is actually, it started out, where did that queen come from? I think she came from the king. But the word queen started off as a slur. It's bad, like calling someone a queen was bad. But like many things that the gay community does, they own it, and it's now a good thing. So calling someone a queen, if they are a drag queen, is okay. I don't have my notes on here, but I think that's okay. So it was, it wasn't very popular at all. I forget what this gentleman's name is. It says down here it's Julian. I forget how to say his last name. But he was a very famous drag queen back in the late 1800s and the early 1900s. He started when he was 10. He was on Broadway for a while. He went to, then he started to do movies, and he actually performed for the King. And then, I don't know if you guys know the movie Some Like It Hot with Jack Lemmon and Tony Curtis. So it was more of a comical thing. Like, it was like, oh, you know, they're not really serious. It's a joke. Then it kind of became disgusting. Well, the whole gay thing was disgusting. In the 50s, it was not okay to be gay in the 60s too. And then something called the Stonewall riot. So Stonewall was a bar, and the police busted in, and there was these riots that started this change, this movement of gays standing up for themselves and protesting. That's where Pride kind of actually did develop from. But what's really interesting about drag queens is that they were a lot of times the most visual, the ones that you could point out. So they had a big role in this movement of acceptance. And then 70s and 80s, there's this ball culture where the underground nightclubs, not as underground as the 50s and 60s, but underground still kind of not mainstream, where they would have these balls where they would award prizes for different categories, and there was everything from drag queens to voguing. Funny enough, voguing started from this drag gay culture, where voguing was a way to fight with somebody without actually touching them. Oh. So like you would vogue and like have a dance off, and voguing basically means that on the cover of Vogue, the poses that models would make, you would like try to do the poses that so Madonna had nothing to do with this whatsoever. It's like art impersonating art, life impersonating art, or something like that.
It's called co-opting a culture.
I think so.
Yes, you're being generous.
On the 90s, 2000s, this idea of pageants actually started in the late 70s. But it became bigger in the 90s and 2000s. So it's basically Miss Gay America. A lot more drag queens were being seen. There's a great documentary on Netflix called Pageant. That is, if you're into that, it's really interesting. So that kind of brought more queens out of the closet, so to speak. And then today, it's really an it's an art form. It's a way to express yourself. It's much more accepted. It's still not completely accepted. There's a lot of things that aren't completely accepted, but it's come a long way. So who's who in drag? So Divine, I don't know if you guys have ever seen any of Divine's films, but you might notice her from Hairspray. She played the mom in Hairspray. There's a lot of other movies she was in. She was really good friends with John Walters, the director, who directed this. And she was actually, Ursula from The Little Mermaid was modeled after Divine, as you can tell. And my Halloween costume this year was modeled after both of them. Frank Marino is one of the richest, most famous drag queens in the world. He's called his nickname is Miss Vegas. He has one of the longest running Vegas shows in history, where it's just drag queens, and it's about 50 different drag queens impersonating everyone from Tina Turner to Reba McEntire to Madonna to Lady Gaga, and it is absolutely amazing and really corny and beautiful at the same time. And I've gone only twice, but I'd like to go. Lady Bunny is really famous in the drag community, and she started Wigstock in the 1980s, which is a big drag festival. And then RuPaul's my favorite drag queen and recording artist in movies, has a podcast, has a TV show, RuPaul's Drag Race. If you have not seen RuPaul's Drag Race, you have to watch RuPaul's Drag Race. It is absolutely fantastic. I'm not a big fan of, what are those TV shows? Like reality TV shows. But this is the best reality TV show ever, so you should watch it. There's 6 seasons. And now the fishery of drag queens, so kind of drag lingo, which is super fun. So fish, this is where I get it from. Fish is basically what you would call a girl, a drag queen that looks like a woman. You wouldn't be able to tell that she was a man at all. So like this lovely drag queen, you would say she's serving fish. She is very fishy. It's a good thing. Does it make sense? Where it comes from, I don't even really know. Like, I don't want to get into like why it's called fish, but she's serving fish, and she is very fishy. And that's a lot of times in drag, depending on the drag queen, that's the ultimate goal, is to be unnoticed. Reading, to read someone, basically to stand up and make fun of them to their face out loud and be able to say. So I could maybe try to read Jared like. No, I'm not going to. He's very nice. So being able to read someone is basically making fun of them, and you kind of read each other. It's kind of like a battle. You would read each other, which kind of is the same as shade or throwing shade, which comes from the idea of someone is in the sunlight and you don't really like that, so you're going to throw some shade on them. You're going to make fun of them, or you're going to put them down.
Sorry, is this part of an act or part of
They're at an event, aren't they?
These people,
Sophia
or
Loren and Jane Mansfield?
Or the lingo?
No, the lingo.
The lingo is drag culture. This is how drag queens would talk to each other. Like, girl, you don't be throwing shade at me. I'll read you, you fishy queen. I'm just like, I'm just gonna use it all. But this is how they talk to each other. It's part of the culture. No tea, no shade. This means like, I'm gonna tell you something that is the truth, and there's no tea and there's no shade. I'm not saying it because I hate you. I'm telling you this because you need to hear it. Does that make sense?
What does tea stand
Yeah, what's no tea?
It's actually no T or no TEA. So I don't know. I could not find that out, and I did search. What does the T stand for? No tea, no shade.
But it means I'm going to tell you something for real.
I'm going to tell you something, you're not going to like it, but there's no tea, no shade.
Okay, got it.
Don't worry.
So I'm not trying to offend.
Like no offense.
Like no offense. No tea, no shade. Sickening. Sickening is actually a good thing. And I tried to think of the most sickening thing I could think of, and it was this beautiful woman in this dress, I think a couple years ago at the Academy Awards. Helen Mirren looks sickening in this dress, as do her boobs. I think looks sickening. So it's a good thing. Like, girl, you look sickening. Beating your face basically means putting makeup on perfectly. So you are going to be beating your face tonight. Tuck. Does anybody want to guess what tuck is?
Just as it sounds.
So basically you take your manly bits and you tuck them under, and then you take duct tape and you tape that down so that if you wearing something tight, you have a perfect flat line. You cannot see your manly bits ever. So that's tucking. I've never done that. I don't want to do that. But that's what they do.
How's removing the duct tape?
Yeah. Pardon?
How is the removal of the duct tape?
How is it removed?
Is
It hurts. I can hear them like on the show. They're like, you can tell that it's not fun.
Yeah.
And the way that they put their manly bits to do it is not. It doesn't sound fun at all. But they do it because they want to look fishy. Drag mother. A drag mother would basically a mentor. A lot of drag queens find a drag mother, and the drag mother will give you your drag name. So, like Jujubee or RuPaul or Lady Bunny, a drag mother would say, "This is your drag name."
Why the big boobs? Why is it so prevalent? Like
what for?
In the drags, like there are a lot of the drag queens. There's a lot of voluptuousness, a lot of big boobs.
It's funny because RuPaul, I listened to his podcast, and he was talking about how he doesn't impersonate a woman, and women would never go out like this because they're afraid to be judged by other women. Like if you saw a woman out like this, you would say, "Look at her boobs, what a whore, what a slut." You might think that. I'm not saying you would specifically, but a woman might think that. But a drag queen is not representing a woman. It's representing femininity, power, the idea of, and that's why a lot of gay men and drag queens, we idolize or look up to these really powerful role models like Cher. When you think of Cher as a really gay icon, why is she? She's independent, she's talented, she has so much confidence, and that's what we're drawn to.
Inspired.
I'm drawn to it, at least. Hunty basically means honey, so calling somebody honey, you would call them hunty. A glamazon is an extremely tall, that's a woman, but a really tall drag queen with really long legs. A glamazon. Is that beautiful?
It's hilarious.
My God. It's never going to happen.
No.
Oh, Kai Kai is when two drag queens get together and make sweet drag queen love. Kai Kai. Work is basically give it your all. You better work. Yeah. Oh, so the last thing I want to do is show just a really quick video. This is, I don't know if anybody ever watches the BuzzFeed guys doing things, like they try on like women's lingerie and they do all this fun stuff. This one is they're doing drag for the first time, so I thought that just to get a taste of it, we would watch.
No, okay, I can do this. If it hurts, it's working. That is my balls up here, and then my dick is back here at my butt.
Today is a drag show here at BuzzFeed Studios. We had a lovely time turning this hairy Sasquatch man into a beautiful woman. Without further ado, my daughter.
No, I don't think I've ever been to a drag show.
You're going to be in one tomorrow.
Going straight to the top.
Drag queens, drag culture?
I don't know anything.
I will be your guide. Which makes me your mother.
I don't really know what that means.
It's not biological, obviously.
They build a house.
So basically, drag queens are like Game of Thrones?
Very much so.
It's an art form. It's like you're an actor playing a role. Dude by day, lady by night.
People love drag so much more now. I'm always all about this stuff.
So this is a competition, right?
I want to win this thing.
I know I'm going to be prettier than that.
Because you might need more time on makeup.
Your daughter is shady. What kind of queen would you want to be?
Have you ever seen like a blue-collar drag queen? I'm seen as a normal guy. I've never changed this haircut.
So you want to be like totally opposite.
Batshit crazy. Dirty. Nicki Minaj a trois. Like Kesha.
I can work with Kesha, so we're gonna make it a little trashy.
I'm prone to hurting myself because I get too intense.
You fell down drunk. And glitter and champagne.
I like keeping on the character, staying true to a lady.
I really like Katy Perry.
But then every now and then you dribble. Like, pop into like you do deep voice too.
He just looks like a dessert.
We're gonna turn you into a bubblegum pop princess.
The subtle lady. You sound real stupid, and I like it.
Oh, thank you.
Gingivitis.
My name's Gingivitis. I'm so sweet.
Is there a woman that inspires you?
I feel like a lot of the influences in my life are male.
What kind of music do you listen to?
I don't like listening to pop. I guess I'm just like kind of silly and like a little nerdy and dashes of insecurity. I don't know how that translates into drag.
You won't know how you see yourself until you see yourself in drag. I say embrace the dash of insecurity on stage.
Cornucopia, because I got a lot to give.
Your cornucopia runneth over.
I'm kind of crass. I'm often hungover. I just have zero filter. Ratchet. I don't want to be ratchet. If I'm gonna be a woman, I'm gonna be a classy woman like my mom. Where are my pants? I have no idea what I
I was watching porn and I got mine that way.
So are you telling me I have to go home and watch pornography?
You should.
And then I'll know my drag name? The first thing I thought was bukkake. Huckleberry Finn, sushi homemaker. That's like sexist and racist at the same time. I never wore heels, mostly because my feet are so big.
I don't even understand why ladies wear heels.
It's
Almost gross how perfect they are.
Just give me a little runway walk.
You could have gone your whole life without heels.
Oh, I love it though. It adds to the walk, it adds to the confidence. Don't they hurt so much? Yeah, but it's worth it.
It hurts. It hurts.
There's no of my toes to go.
My feet have not known this pain.
Especially the girls after the club closes and they're struggling to get to the car.
I'm just gonna rest while you talk. The most special torture devices make women move very slowly.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's like I feel like I'm trying to ice skate okay for a second.
Are you expecting me to dance in these? Yes, I do. What? No daughter of mine will wear flats.
I want to get the emotion out. I want to make the people cry. So we were talking about Robin dancing on my own. How do you feel about that?
I love that song.
Okay.
That song's all about feeling.
Yeah.
So it's really easy to sink into the emotion of it.
You need to focus more on being feminine.
I just want to blow this house up.
From here up, it's got to be a little bit softer, a little bit flirtier, and then from here down, a little bit more over the top.
Yeah, that's fun. We can do that.
I like her song, Peacock.
Oh, you got yes! The like specific lyrics or specific moves. It's more about the essence of the partition. Make love to the word. Partition.
I can't do it. I just have to think I want to fuck the person. Yeah. So the morals of lip sync is make the pussy's wet
and the dick's hard.
This has to go?
That has to go.
All of it?
Yeah.
How long does it take to shave a leg?
How well groomed should this area be? Gotta get those pits and get them legs together.
So I'm the only one showing legs.
Show all the skin you want. I'm trying to be a classy lady.
Oh, hardwood floors work best.
We're shaving your pits and taking care of the whiskers.
Pits for sure. Look at this. I could put a weave in that chest hair. To the neckline of the top and sideburns and the back.
I don't even know what my skin looks like anymore. It's like I haven't seen it in so long.
I shaved a little bit of Zach's chest hair. That was a mistake.
We don't get paid enough.
Half the battle is when you transform, when you look like a different person.
Isn't it weird to think that glue sticks are most commonly bought by elementary school kids and drag queens?
You're automatically gonna act different.
I really feel like this should be like an Olympic sport. There's a fuck ton that goes into it.
Ah, it's like a condom for my head.
I want nothing more than to just rub my eyes.
Look at her, though. What do you think our founding fathers would say about this?
They were more wigs than us.
This is like a skyscraper of makeup on my face. Are there straight guys who do drag?
There are. There's the fear of compromising your masculinity.
I need a break. Need to tap out for a sec.
But who cares?
So, drag name. I was thinking Corianne, K-drama.
Cheyenne Pepper.
I like it.
Like, I don't understand. Like, I don't have breasts. You know what? I have a lot of, like, flab that we can maybe push around.
I've got it fine.
Thankfully, we ain't showing no cleavage.
I've got hips for you.
So this is how you make an ass.
It's literally the cockpit.
Well, there's a man shoving foam into my butt.
You have to cover all of the boys.
What's a little Lindsay Lohan? That could be good. Finish your fucking drinks.
Yo, boy!
You fucking body, Adi.
Where'd the dick go?
Yeah. Take your nuts, you put them up in the socket.
What's socket?
Where they came from before they dropped.
Is it going upstairs?
I feel like I only have a split-level house.
Pull your dick back.
Yeah, never bomb.
How do you guys pee when you're working?
You don't.
I'm gonna go tuck in the bathroom. Oh shit. Oh my god. I think I did it.
You're flat.
I'm flat. Guess
suit tucked. Typical drag says be a cast one out there and do their little dance and get some money.
Tonight we're going to be popping the cherry for BuzzFeed. My adoptress found herself right away.
I feel like we can really surprise her with how like a woman I could become.
Her name is Gingivitis.
So much more confidence when, like, don't worry about getting the words right. So if you just sell gingivitis to all the people and you connect with the audience members, that's all that matters.
I love that he throws himself into everything, and she was beautiful. This took it.
You were all the treasure at the end of my rainbow.
I just want to warn the first row that this could become a splash zone. What does your wife think about the whole drag thing?
She thinks it's funny.
Champagne can.
I thought it was going to be kind of weird and I would feel uncomfortable, but once you put all of this on, you really become a different person, or at least you feel like you are until your wig flies off.
Hey, fix your hat.
Oh, fucking
How's everyone doing tonight?
My sisters, they are both regimental, gritty, the most cutthroat Asian girls you'll meet.
My daughter, Cheyenne Pepper.
Basically, this is torture on my body. My toes are crushed, my balls and makeup disappeared somewhere within me. I'm sweating under this wig. I feel like there's 20 pounds of makeup on my face, and yet there's like a rush to it, which is really cool. What'd you think of the show?
How are you so skinny?
We can prove them on my phone, the prettiest sister.
Oh my God! Now, before I bring my daughter on, who, unlike the other performers, is not a whore.
I can't just like be a half-assed drag performer for my grandma. I gotta do this.
So give it up for Cornucopia Kornfeld.
I didn't even know who you were. She did such a great job, and I didn't know you had such fantastic legs.
Oh, thank you. Huge respect for drag queens. They are both better men than I am and better women than I am. Who do you think he resembles? If you could pick somebody.
His father.
Any drag questions? Hunties? No? Okay. Thank you.
Are there drag shows in Hamilton? Do they happen?
During Pride, they do, don't they? Chris?
I heard the question. I just
There's
don't.
a couple of queens that perform. I saw one
I've been
at,
to
Oh, you did it up.
The ones I've seen. Go Toronto.
That was all tea and all
Oh, it was all shit. That was great.
Now I have a question. Have you ever gone all the way in drag?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I've never talked.
You
That's the only
didn't
thing
talk.
I've never done.
Well, that's where I was going with this.
Because,
Do those sockets really exist?
Yeah, like some of the drag queens, they actually pop their testicles back into their body.
Oh.
What are you?
Yes.
But I've never done that. But yeah, like usually every Halloween I go. Like Halloween is my drag night.
Right.
The only time I go. But
You didn't.
Like heels and.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was spray painting my body this year. It was the worst thing I've ever done. And like I took it to the limit, so I like shaved my whole body, and then took spray paint because I couldn't get the purple I wanted for Ursula, the right purple. So I took Jared dye, and then Jared spray painted my whole body. So right after I shaved, my pores like open, and spray, and it hurt so much, but I looked so amazing. I did not care at all. That's what you do. And I like glued like, I don't know, it was like five wigs together because I wanted that. Because you can't buy like a drag wig anywhere around here. So I glued 5 of them together to make the height that I wanted.
You worked on it
Oh,
for a
it cost
long
me
time.
like for Halloween.
Yeah.
It usually costs us at least together $500 to $600.
Really?
Oh yeah. I bought
was
3
berserk.
Ursula costumes. I made 3 Ursula costumes this year, and then the night of, I picked which one I wanted to wear.
Wow.
It's serious
That's
shit.
commitment.
I
Yeah.
have children.
Yeah, we didn't address any children.
Halloween is my child.
Oh, cool. That was great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You know what, Molly? The whole night was great.
Yeah.
That was really.
Yeah, well, this was, I mean, great turnout, and like
Yeah.
it was so much fun, and I had no idea what to expect. And,
Yeah,
I don't
no,
know.
it's great. Like those are really amazing,
The-
amazing diversity too.
Yeah, and like it turns out that when people are talking about the thing that they're super excited about, it's fascinating.
Yeah,
To
yeah.
listen to, so.
Well, I like it because there are 3 completely unrelated things. Like